Hi guys, today we are going to talk about how to find the area of a rhombus. So we have talked about a rhombus before when we've talked about special parallelograms. So remember, a rhombus can have two diagonals. A rhombus has four equal sides, and when our diagonals intersect each other, they form a right angle. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to draw in a diagonal. All right, that's my first diagonal. I'm going to put that in red. All right, and I'm going to call this one D1 for diagonal 1. Our other diagonal would be across this way. And I'm going to refer to that one as D2, diagonal 2. Now, it doesn't matter which one is labeled D1 or D2, just as long as we know that we have two different diagonals. D1 and D2 are important because that comes into play into our formula. So what you want to do when you want to find out the formula for the area of a rhombus, you want to know the whole length of each diagonal. And then you want to multiply them and then cut them in half. So what we really want to do is area equals diagonal 1 times diagonal 2, and then we divide by 2. So we have to know the whole length of each diagonal, we multiply them, and then we divide by 2. So let's take a look at doing that with some practice here. All right, so we have two different scenarios as to how they can give us some information. In our picture here, we have a rhombus. We have the diagonals drawn in, but there's no numbers inside the picture. But they do give us some information outside. This is important. What this is basically saying is, let's say that we'll call diagonal 1 10. Well, there's diagonal 1. The whole length they're telling us is 10 meters. Diagonal 2, they're telling us is 12. Well, here's diagonal 2. The whole length is 12. So if I'm following the formula that we did up here, I would know that diagonal 1 times diagonal 2 divided by 2 gives me my area. So plug our numbers in. 10 times 12 divided by 2. So I'm going to do it step by step. So 10 times 12 equals 120. And then we have to cut that in half, divide by 2. And when we do that, 120 divided by 2 is 60. And we're still talking about area, so we have 60 meters squared. That's your answer for the area of this rhombus. Now let's take a look at number 2. Number 2 gives us information inside of our rhombus. So instead of it telling us what the entire length is right here, in this picture, it's only showing us part of each diagonal. They're saying from here to here is 5. So if I continue and I go all the way to the other side, that would give me 5 more inches. Because we know in a rhombus that the diagonals also bisect each other because it's a parallelogram. In my other diagonal, if this side is 8 and then I continue it on, I also have that this is 8 inches. So what I want to do, like it's done for us over here, is I want to label what diagonal 1 would be and diagonal 2 would be. Again, it doesn't matter which one we pick to be diagonal 1 or diagonal 2. So for this one, for diagonal 1, I'm going to go up and down. So if I take the 5 and the 5 and add them together, I get 10 inches total for diagonal 1. And then I'm going to do the same for the red. 8 plus 8 is 16 inches. Now I have my information to plug into the formula. Diagonal 1 times diagonal 2 divided by 2. My first diagonal is 10. My second diagonal is 16, and I divide by 2. So 10 times 16, let me get my calculator. 10 times 16 is 160. We can't forget to divide by 2. So take that and divide by 2, and we get 80. 80 inches squared is our answer for number 2. All right, the last one. It's a word problem because there's no pictures here. A rhombus has one diagonal that is 12 inches and another diagonal that is 14 inches. So I'm going to one diagonal that is 12 inches and another diagonal that is 14. So I'm going to write down diagonal 1 we'll call 12 inches. Diagonal 2 we'll call 14 inches. It says to draw a picture and label it. So we already wrote down this information, so I could just draw a picture like number 1 up above. Draw yourself not a diagonal, draw yourself a rhombus, draw in your diagonals, and then we can find the area. D1 times D2 divided by 2 is our formula. So I'm going to do my work over here. Diagonal 1 is 12. Diagonal 2 is 14. And then we divide by 2. So 12 times 14 on our calculator is 168. Divided by 2 is 84. So we have 84 inches squared for our last example. So remember, in a rhombus, we want to know the entire length of the diagonal. So if they give you the entire length, you're good. You just multiply them together and divide by 2. If they give you only half of it in the picture, you do like we did for practice number 2 and just repeat the number on each side and make sure you add them together to get the whole length.